All right, we're making mugs, and step one is to think about what size mug you want. My Star Wars mug is a huge oversized mug, but I also have a pretty much average size bird mug here and a skinny moose mug. So before you start this project, decide what shape you want or what form you want. There are so many things in the house. This is some paint. Here's a Lysol container. The thing you are looking for in your home is a cylinder shape. And make sure you can tell by the base how wide you would like it. So any size mug will do. This hand sanitizer container is a little small. You can test it out by putting your cylinder in a mug you already have if you're trying to decide which size you'd like. But choose an object that will be the width of a mug you would like. And that is step one. We all start with a cylinder shape. You can always transform it like this cute penguin and round it a little at the end if you'd like. But to begin, we will start with a cylinder. So always start with that. And the first step for this project is to wander around the house and find one. We're gonna wrap it in plastic wrap. If you don't have plastic wrap, saran wrap, you can just use a paper towel. We just can't have the clay directly touching our cylinder or it will get stuck. And then once you do have one, grab 2 balls of or cubes of clay and roll out a slab. Okay, I'm using a candle for my lovely mug. I'm gonna grab some plastic wrap and roll it up because we don't want the clay to touch our cylinder. If the clay is wrapped directly around the cylinder, it sticks to it and then you can't remove it and you have to destroy your entire mug. If you don't have plastic wrap, you can wrap around a piece of paper towel works fine too. Plastic wrap is just nice because it sticks to itself, so it's easier to stay in place on your actual cylinder. But any material between it is fine. All right, you can use a ruler to cut a rectangle. If you don't have a ruler at home, you can fold a piece of paper in half and you will magically have a straight edge. So you want to cut a rectangle out and you need to make sure it is wide enough to wrap around the cylinder you've chosen. You can always make it shorter later, but you want to make the width long enough. So you might have to roll up all your clay and re-roll your slab if it's too short. And then to cut the sides, you want it to be pretty even. So mine is a little rounded right there. I'm going to cut it off. And instead of a perfectly straight cut like that, you can cut it at an angle. Cutting edges at an angle that are going to line up just ensures that there's less of a big bump of clay. It's fine if you cut it straight and you just have to smooth the bump down. So you'll see what I mean in a minute. So that's a slant. I cut the ends of mine at a slant. And then I'm going to grab my cylinder and roll it. I have a little extra clay here, so I'm going to cut that off and try to cut it at a slant so that my mug lines up perfect. My clay, I should say. All right, there we go. Now you can use a modeling tool. You can use your hand, whatever you feel is the best for you to blend the 2 edges together. We would like to hide the seam so we do not know where this mug was connected. You should not be able to tell at all. Feel free to get a sponge, add water to blend it. You can use water later. And then you have to do the very top too. So currently I can see right where it's connected. So I'm going to blend that. You might cut the top off. I'm going to actually shorten mine in a minute. And so I'll just have to re-blend wherever it connected. But always check the top. And now the next step is the circle base. A mug needs to have a circle base or else your liquid would pour through the cylinder. I happen to have extra clay from my slab, so I'm just setting my mug cylinder on top and cutting around the bottom so that I can make a circle. You just need the circle to be the width of your mug. Cut it. I'll peel away the pieces so you can see it. And there we go. Now please work on a surface that you can move around. So get a piece of paper or a towel or something. I'm going to set mine back on top with a paper underneath. And now I have to hide that seam. So I'm getting a wooden modeling tool and I'm just going to drag the edge up, straight up. I'm angling it so you can see it, but you can do this on the table. You don't have to angle your art. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm hiding the edge. So the seam between the two pieces of clay should be disguised and hidden, just like when we built boxes. And then you do that all the way around. It's pretty easy because the cylinder inside is keeping the mug sturdy. So you can put more pressure when you're doing this. You don't have to worry about your mug changing the form that it's supposed to be. We don't leave the cylinder in the whole entire time, but we do leave it in while we are connecting the circle base to the walls of your mug. All right, there we go. I'm going to add some water and smooth it out with a sponge, but for now it looks pretty good. Now I am also using a paper for the height of my mug. In case you don't have a ruler, you can just cut a piece of paper as a ruler. So what I do is I line my piece of paper up and do dashes, little dots or dashes, make little marks at the top of my mug. And this is where I'm going to cut it because I think my mug's too tall. So I'm using the same size paper and putting little marks in. And that way, when I go to cut it later, it will be perfectly straight or perfectly even. You can see the dots I added. And now I'm just going to connect the dots. There we go. That's my mug. Now the hardest part is taking the tube out of the clay. So my mug's all done. I might smooth it a little more, but now I have to remove my cylinder. Pull aside the saran wrap or paper towel. You are going to leave the saran wrap on the clay, but pull out whatever container you've used. So this is the only challenging part. Leave the clay attached, the saran wrap attached, and just pull out the tube. That's a little easier. And then now that it's all out, it's great, you can take the saran wrap out, or plastic wrap, or paper towel, whatever you used. After you've removed it, check inside your mug. We want the mug to look nice and smooth, so you might need to add some water. You might need to get a sponge if you can reach in there. You might need to get a modeling tool. I'm going to try to hide the seam on the inside that I can see. It's a little obvious. Remember, this is extremely flimsy. Don't pick it up if you don't have to. If you made yours extra super thin, then you're going to be really nervous. I'm picking mine up just to show you in the video, but you probably should not be picking up your mug because we want it to stay round. Now I'm just blending in the inside line where I could see where my clay connected. I want to hide that seam. You can blend as much as you want around the bottom edge, around the seam, and then just use water to smooth it out. That's pretty much the last step. Then we're going to bag this up and go work on our handle. All right, use a sponge, use water, use your modeling tools, get that mug as pretty as you can. We can obviously add more water later. Wrap all sides, wrap the bottom, wrap the top, wrap the sides. Make sure that saran wrap is everywhere. If you have a giant bag, you can put it in a bag and seal it. We need this clay to stay the same consistency as our handle, which means we need it to kind of like basically have been formed and then stay in saran wrap or a bag for maybe one day, and then we'll connect the two. So you can set this aside as long as it's sealed up, and we'll finish the rest in the next video.